Hi everyone, welcome to episode 13 of Thief. In this episode I'm going to take the line art and get it prepared and then actually put it on the character card for the Thief. Now, there are a ton of steps that I go through in this video, and so I'm not really going to be able to go into a ton of detail about each step of the process, but I'll try and give you a general overview of what I'm working on, so that you can get an idea of what goes into making these cards. And then in the future, if people are interested, I can go into a little bit more detail in kind of more of a tutorial rather than this quick overview. Because I'll tell you now, I tried doing this voiceover a couple of times, trying to keep up with what I was doing, and it was insane. I don't think I would have been able to follow it, and I know what I'm doing. So, what I've done so far is scanned the art into the computer, made the blacks blacker, and then used Adobe Illustrator to simplify the lines and make them really clean. One reason I choose to do that process for the card art is that the finished art's really small on the card, so I really respond well to the things getting a little bit more simple, and that's an aesthetic that I've really been going for with all of the Relicblade stuff, trying to keep it really clean and simple, straightforward, and yeah, have some of that classic look to it. So right now what I'm working on is doing the grayscale. And so I started with kind of a core shadow color, worked my way through a little bit lighter, a little bit darker, thinking about things like occlusion shadows, and then also some reflected light and things like that to bring out the form. So that's a big part of what I'm doing, is trying to describe the shapes a little bit more, because the black and white is very flat. And even though there's some cool line weight and things going on, just the shadows really describe the shape a lot more. So I work my way through cutting in with the different types of light that are happening. And one important step for that is establishing the direction of the light. So in that art, you'll be able to see that the light source is behind her. Now that I have sort of the basic grays laid out, I go into Adobe Illustrator and I grab the blank cards and start changing one to the Thief. So I changed the name and the stats and work my way through the card, trying to establish the Thief's actual rules and stuff. Now these rules are going to be beta rules for the character, but I wanted to be able to get the card art all together so that when people are playtesting and working with the Thief, they don't feel like they're playing a beta. I want them to feel like they're really engaging and not being distracted by the other stuff. So I like to have kind of the art in place so they can get their imagination behind it a little bit more before they start getting too confused with other stuff. So a big part of writing the rules for these on the character card is that the rules have to be able to fit on the little action bars. And so that's not a lot of real estate for complicated rules, so you have to really be careful how you word things, and then making sure that you don't simplify the way you're wording it so much that it becomes meaningless. For instance, the pickpocket ability. I ended up having to change that after the video because it didn't really describe the ability correctly. So you've got to really work with game design and figure out the right way to say everything. The other thing that's interesting on this character card is this is the first hybrid ability, and I'm not sure if it's going to stay that way, but she has the dagger action that is both a close combat action or a ranged attack. So you got to choose how you use it. And so figuring out how to lay out the range or melee weapon, I'm trying to figure out that design stuff, so I fiddle with that a bit too. Gosh, we do so much stuff in this video and it all happens so fast. But now I get from Illustrator into Photoshop and I pull up another card that's finished, and work my way through the layers, replacing certain layers with the card information, and then now I'm dropping in the art. So remove the old art, put in the new thief art, remove the old card, put in the new thief card, and then there are actually a bunch of different layers. So there's the layer that has the shading for the card. So you see on the banner where it says thief, how there's some shading there. There's a layer for that, a layer for the character, an extra layer for the part where her hair is coming above the banner to add a little bit more interest to the card. There's layers for a background layer for all the rules, a front layer for all the rules, so there's actually 2 layers of rules there. You know, just like a ton of different stuff that goes into organizing all of the graphic design at this point. So it's really important as you work on these character cards to try to pay attention to as many of the little fine details as possible. So making sure that all of the shadows are in place, making sure that I've erased anything that is out of place, such as there's like a little tiny triangle there next to her hair, so you got to get back in there and erase it, and making sure all the levels are correct, that the blacks are black, that you've got good values on the card, and just making sure everything is basically perfect, because printing the cards is really expensive, so you've got to make sure that they're right. Making sure everything is the right scale, everything's the right size, nothing's too dark. Like there were 2 layers of the dagger and bow and arrow, so that needed to get sorted out. So now with all of the character card laid out and ready, once we get the figure, this character is going to be ready to play.